everybody, it's Lacey, and unfortunately no Lauren this week, and welcome to another episode of the Lawmas Podcast. So what is going on right now is I just got back from vacation. I think Lauren had some things this week. I'm going on vacation next week, so I would anticipate that it'll just be Lauren next week, and then hopefully we can get back together after that. But I know she went to Disney World with her family. I just got back from Italy with my husband. We went for our 10-year wedding anniversary. And so that's kind of what's going on with us. But we didn't want to leave you hanging too much without an episode. So today I'm doing a solo episode. My agreement with Lauren was if I did a solo episode so she could catch up on some work things, I could vent about my frustrations with Jelly Roll and Bunny XO's divorce. So that is my topic today. Y'all already know me and Lauren. We're all about trash TV, especially when you connect the law with it. We are there. We are there in full force. And so that has been a topic. Lauren posted a meme on Facebook. She shared it, and it was like, I could care less about the Jelly Roll Bunny divorce. And I've seen a couple. Well, I do care, y'all. I care very deeply. And when I say when her podcast episode dropped titled Divorce, when I say I pressed play immediately, I wanted my husband to do the dishes that night, but I decided to do the dishes because I wanted to listen to that podcast. And I don't know how y'all listen to podcasts. Usually it's when I'm in my car or in the shower or getting ready for work. That's kind of my podcast time. Unless I'm doing the dishes, then I'll put it on. But for me, I just find it weird to be listening to the podcast in the living room if somebody else, like if my husband's watching TV. So it's not my thing. I have to be doing something else. So I immediately hit play because I am invested, y'all. I am so invested. And it is what it is. So for anybody listening in, so we all know it's hit the news everywhere that Jelly Roll and Bunny are getting a divorce. They have been together 10 years and they've had a lot of ups and downs. And for me, I think my frustrations are, I read her book. So if you haven't read Bunny's book, to kind of fill you in, she has had a lot of rocky relationships. And like one of those things I've noticed that trended in her book, and I think also bled into her relationship with Jelly Roll, is she gives 100%. She puts everything into that person. She gives them everything and all of it until and if she doesn't get it back, eventually she breaks and she can't give anymore. And so I think that's what we saw there. Like she isn't, I don't want to say demanding that equal love, that equal contribution and building into her. I don't know if it's like that or just, she's with these men who aren't doing it, but she's all about building people up and trying to make them better. And that's one thing I really like her for that. But she doesn't get that back in relationships. I think sometimes in our society, when you have somebody like Bunny that is hyper independent, has always been able to be self-sufficient and do for herself, I think sometimes men get intimidated by that. And they think, well, she can do everything for herself, so I don't have to pour that into her. And I think that's a breakdown of probably a lot of relationships that we don't even know about. But I kind of think that's what happened here. She has been in an abusive relationship in the past, and it took her a really long time to get out because she always just sees the good in people. And I hope that's something she never changes. I hope she never changes seeing the good in people, but I hope in future relationships she finds somebody that, she sees that good and they are all of that. And then they also pour into her despite the fact that she can do everything by herself. So that's what I noticed in her book, was just that she just poured so much into these men that didn't deserve it. And I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. I think it's kind of clear. I don't think it's fake that, he has changed for the better. I mean, he is a convicted felon. He has been to prison, and he did get out and turn his life around, and he's doing much better. And even health-wise, like we all can see and go back and Google image, pictures of Jelly Roll when he first, blew up in the country music world. And then we see him right now, much better shape and much better health. He's taking care of himself. So, I can't say that he hasn't changed for the better. He didn't deserve that, but I just don't think he poured into her what she poured into him. And just because she is independent and had her own money and always had her own job and had all these things, there were still ways he could have poured into her to be there for her and show her love. And I just don't think he did that. Like, one example, I know what she meant by, she got a facelift, and she said, her coven, her friend group went with her for the facelift because he couldn't stand seeing her in physical pain. And I understand that to an extent. Like, I remember childbirth with both of my kids, and like the first time it was very awkward in the hospital with my husband because I just I'm so hyper aware of his anxieties. And I knew that he probably didn't know what to do, but I was trying to focus on myself. And it was just really weird him being in the room, to be honest. Maybe other women don't feel that way, but I related to that because I gave birth at home the second time, and my husband didn't come in until it was time for me to push. And it was wonderful. I mean, I was just surrounded by women, by my mom, by my sister, and it was just magical and powerful, empowering. And it is what I needed because, like, my sister gave birth to 3 kids. Given they were C-sections, it didn't matter. She knows how that is still birth and giving birth and the pain and carrying a child and bringing it to the world. My mom had experienced directly what I had with 2 kids with 2 natural childbirths. And then I had my midwife. And so I needed that in those moments. So I did relate to her in, not wanting him there, and that he didn't process that pain. But what did he do? Because I'll say, even though my husband wasn't in the room when I was going through my labor and it was at my own direction, he was still there. He was still present, and he, came in when I pushed, and we went to bed that night and all these things. And it's like, okay, if he was not there for the facelift, right, what did he do? Because you can be there for somebody in many different ways. It doesn't always have to be physical presence, right? You can send things from afar, send text, like, I just don't know. Like, I know he called and checked on her, that's all good and great, but I don't know. I wonder if you asked her if he showed up in another way, because he should. That's her husband. And so that is just one thing that just kind of crossed my mind with that story and my relating to it, a piece of it. But yeah, so that was just, like I said, that it's something that trended through her book. And when she was talking about the podcast, that is one thing she said. She said, I've always loved him more than he loved me. And I believe it. Like, she was turning, like, she didn't have money, y'all, when she got a lawyer, got him a place to stay so he could get custody of Bailey. She was turning tricks. She had men who had money, and she had to do that to get that money and get those things for him to be able to do that. And then he turned around and cheated on her and had an affair. And everybody in her past had cheated on her, every single man, including Jelly Roll of 10 years. And, I know they said that there's no cheating this time, and I believe it. I just believe that he didn't care enough about her. I'll straight up say, I don't think he cared enough about her the way she cared about him. The depths that she would go into for him to be with him and to make him who he was, he would not be where he is without her, but she would be where she is without him. And that's my point. Like, what has he given her? I mean, I guess at this point he is giving her, hopefully, children. It definitely seen that, but that's one of my just biggest frustrations, is I just don't think he was there for her. And just reading her book, she deserves somebody that is always going to show up for her. Like, her friends, the way her friends are, and just ride or die there for her. like she just deserves to have somebody that way towards her, the way she is towards them. And again, I think it's part of it is intimidation or maybe just laziness. Like, okay, she can do it all of herself, but just because she can do it all by herself doesn't mean she should have to or that she wants to. There are ways to show up for hyper independent women. And I think men as a society are trying to figure that out. I don't know. I have talked to my therapist about, like just men not picking up on cues that women do. And she says that is a thing. And I like, it's normal. They like lists, you pointing things out that need to be done. But I was like, at some point they have to evolve. Like I would get that thinking, many, many years ago when most women stayed at home and they were homemakers, but now women in most homes are working outside the home. And it's just a lot to think that like we have to dictate what needs to be done. We can go into a room and know XYZ needs done. And that men are not programmed the same way. At what point are they going to be programmed to be that way is what I'd like to know. But I think that was just like I said, I think that was one of the issues with him. I'm kind of frustrated with him. I'm not even listening to his music right now. I've been streaming a lot more Post Malone. But I just don't want to even listen to his music. I'm just frustrated. Like I said, I don't think he cheated. I don't think he did anything of that nature. I mean, clearly he has in the past, that's been admitted to, but I don't know. It's just frustrating to hear her finally come out like that. She loved him and he did not pour into her what she poured into him. And I guess looking back, you can kind of see it throughout some of the things for sure. But anyway, so that was one thing. She did say they were still going to try to have children. And, she mentioned just they are not the same people anymore. And I can understand that, why that's not really meshing. Like she definitely get the vibe that she just wants babies. She just wants a baby. She just wants to stay at home. Just be she's more of a homebody. She does her podcast. She goes to work. She has her job. She can do, social outings and stuff like that. But the fame, the red carpets, that's not really her thing. She's more of a Converse leggings, throw on a t-shirt kind of girly. And I can roll with that for sure. And I think he likes the fame. I think he loves the fame. I think he likes the fame more than the fortune, to be honest. And so I think he likes the red carpet and being center of attention and all eyes on me. And so I think that is kind of where they've kind of grown apart, is as he's gotten more confident and showy, like he's just wanting to be out there more. And I think she's always known who she is, and she is more certain now than ever of who she is, and that's just not what she is about. So I think that's kind of what I heard from the podcast. I guess my podcast is a summary of hers in combination of what I saw looking into her book and things that kind of aligned with what she said in her podcast. But if anybody read her book and then listened to the Divorce podcast, I'm curious if you kind of saw those similarities in past relationships with the relationships with Jelly Roll, and moving forward. And I mean, he did blindside. I don't know how she's still not angry. She's like, oh, if you want to date him, drop into his DMs. That's just weird to me. Like, I feel like that's for show. I'm sorry. I just don't believe that. If she truly were in love with him, I don't think she could fathom seeing him with someone else this soon. So I think she's just doing that to mask and hide her pain, because that's what she does. That's what she's done her whole life if you've read her book. So I think there's a lot of things just from her book that's going on that really aren't true. It's just how she deals with things, and it makes me really sad. I do think she still loves him. I do think she still wants what's best. I do believe that, when they said that they've had everything settled in the divorce, like she made the comment, she told him, you've given me more in the divorce than you ever did in our marriage. And I believe that. It definitely feels like they kind of settled in everything and were really realistic and logical about that. And I think that's abnormal. I don't know. I'm curious if it's abnormal these days, actually, because, in my realm as an attorney, you always hear the worst of the worst, right? You get these crazy stories of what things people fight over in divorces. But I will say, like, in my personal life and seeing divorces of what I've gone through, like, it's been ugly breakups, if that makes sense, like very hurt, pain, a lot of sadness. But when it comes to the logistics of dividing up things and moving forward, that has been pretty smooth in what I've seen from my personal life and friends and family. Um, and that's kind of how it seems with Jelly Roll and Bunny. It seems like it has been like very, logistics, like very smooth how we're going to divide things up and move forward, that part of it. And so I'm curious to see, like, I'll be curious to see what is the majority of divorces. Like, are the majority ugly? Like what you hear about fighting over the dog parrot, the silverware, the spoons, nickel and dime, or are people, for the most part, they can do it on their own. They kind of know exactly what they want to do in a case. And I don't know. I guess maybe a family court lawyer could really answer that question more for us. So if you do family, like, I'd definitely be curious to see like what your experiences, are when you're in family court, like hearings and stuff. What the majority are they big fights, or most people are showing up with just to finalize what was very easily decided, I guess is the best way to put it. So so I have been invested in this. I am Team Bunny all the way. I liked her before Jelly Roll. I actually started listening to him because of her, and Bunny, I love that you are where you are, and I really hope that is true. I think there's some things you're saying out of defense mechanism from how you grew up and stuff, the traumatic childhood experiences and past relationships. But girl, I can't listen to Jelly Roll right now. I can't. I'm mad at him. If you ain't gonna be mad at him, I gotta be a little mad at him. I think I'll get over it. I think I can listen to him. I mean, if you came out and told me that you were still getting a percentage of his music, I'd listen again. If you were getting like a couple percent for whatever he makes, like, let me know. I'll hit play. But if you're not getting that money, girl, I'm not listening to him right now. I'm mad. It's going to take me longer to heal than you. I actually think you are going to take longer to heal as well. But I am glad if you somehow find my podcast, Bunny. I am glad that you are able to work this out and get what you wanted out of it. I'm glad things are going smoothly. That is always great and wonderful. And I know that they haven't signed off on it officially because there's like a cooling period in Tennessee. I don't know what those laws are. I can tell you in South Carolina, it is a year. So if it is a no-fault divorce, like neither party cheated or had like addiction issues or something, like, or there was fraud, like, you have to wait a year as our cooling off period. Like I said, I'm not sure what Tennessee's cooling off period is to see when everything can kind of be signed and done. But I'm glad that is going smoothly. But in moments that you are frustrated and angry, we're frustrated with you, girl. We're angry for you. We are Team Bunny on this podcast. I don't know if Lauren knows that, but if she's listening, she's going to find out that the Lawmas Podcast is Team Dumb Blonde Podcast. And so, so I'm not listening to Jelly Roll right now. I'm mad. I am hurt, and I am listening to her podcast, following her Instagram posts, and liking everything I see because I am a girl's girl and I'm here for her. So that's just my thoughts on the Jelly Roll Bunny divorce. I don't know what we'll see. I don't know if she'll open up in more detail about some of the harder times. She's a pretty open book. I think we'll get more and more as time goes by, like as she manages it and deals with it. I think things will come up. Like I said, she really opens up and shares her story. So I think we'll get the full picture later. I'll probably be more mad then. But anyways, let me know your thoughts. Like I said, family court attorneys, let me know kind of what you see more of in your world. And so that's my rant on the divorce heard around the world. Something that I think a lot of us didn't expect at the time, but hindsight maybe saw coming. But so thank you for listening. And I don't know what Lauren's going to come on talk about, but I'm going to be gone next week, but we will see you later. Thanks. Bye.